So I've had no caffeine for 7 days, and that was pretty horrible for the first couple of days. So if you want to hear about my 7-day journey, keep tuned in. So, no caffeine for 7 days, and just to put this in perspective, I haven't had a day without caffeine in probably 35 years. So it is the drug that I have used the most in my life on an everyday basis, and I think it's a drug that we all take for granted. You know, we don't really think about it. We don't imagine it's particularly powerful. And it's something that is just generally considered okay. So why did I want to give it up? You know, what are the positives and the negatives of caffeine, and how did that go? And is it possible for you guys to give that a try as well? Or would I advocate people giving it a try? So caffeine is a popular drug all over the world. You know, it's found in coffee, various different soft drinks like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and then in various different foods. You get some in chocolate, although a very small amount, and you know, it's littered around the food industry basically. You certainly get a large amount of it in pre-workout powders and various different supplements, you know, fat burning supplements and stuff like that. It has in studies been shown to enhance fat burning, so it's definitely a positive on that side, and it has been shown to enhance certain performance parameters in sport, and so that's a positive as well. You know, that can't be argued with. The downside of caffeine is that, like a lot of stimulant type substances, you know, the pros and cons kind of balance out, because everything you get energy wise you pay back somehow. So caffeine is good if you were going to use it on a very limited basis in fairly limited quantities, and you were just using it, you know, in those small quantities to enhance performance at certain times, and then you were able to just not take it for the rest of the time. We all know that is really difficult with caffeine. You know, that most of us are already in the habit of getting up. What's the first thing we do in the morning? We take a drug. We have caffeine. We have a cup of coffee, or we have a cup of tea, and then we continue that throughout the day. And unfortunately, if we do that, it kind of loses its effect. You know, most people don't feel any sort of marked stimulant effect from coffee because they've built up such a tolerance and they're so used to it every day that it's just part of their normal day. Interestingly, we do notice when we haven't had any coffee, because we have an urge to go and make one. You know, if you didn't have one in the morning, and you normally do, you would probably start feeling pretty ropey quite quickly. And that to me is a little bit of a concern, and I'll get to that. So the other issue that I've got with caffeine is it is a vasoconstrictor. So we have two different types of things going on with our vascular system. In simple terms, you can have a vasodilator, which basically makes them enlarge. So a vasodilator would be something like amyl nitrate, for example, which is commonly prescribed for people that have angina, maybe not so much now, and it was also popularized as a kind of party drug. A vasoconstrictor would be any of the stimulants pretty much you can think of. Most of those cause our blood vessels to constrict, hence the name vasoconstrictor, and that will actually maybe increase blood pressure slightly. That isn't, to be honest, a major concern in the short term. It's, you know, something that has a noticeable effect, and there are certain effects, especially for males, So one of the things being this can actually affect males with erectile dysfunction. So the last thing that those guys would want is something that is a vasoconstrictor. So people with erectile dysfunction would take a vasodilator, like Viagra, for example. That's a common vasodilator. And the last thing they want to do is constrict the blood vessels, because obviously they're already struggling in that area, and caffeine is certainly not going to help those people. And if you have a very highly caffeinated drink, you know, like a really strong pre-workout, or you drank like 2 Monsters or something like that, even guys that don't suffer from erectile dysfunction may end up seeing some small amount of erectile dysfunction themselves, because they're now in such a state of vasoconstriction that they're not going to get blood flow to that area. A bit of a strange subject, but you know, it warrants talking about. So it definitely has a, you know, a visible physical effect. Even on a, you know, a healthy body, we can be pretty fit and still have that effect. The other negative effect is it can make us feel anxious in high doses, and actually in very high doses it can be lethal, because it speeds up the heart rate, and it's just toxic for the body in very high doses. It does have an LD50, which isn't a huge amount, you know. I think even doses of a couple of grams plus, you're starting to get very much into warning territory. Don't take my word for that, you know, go and research that yourself. But most, even the really strong pre-workouts, tend to sort of go up to about 600 milligrams, something like that, which is considered a really hefty dose. And any more than that, you know, you're starting to get into danger territory. Like I said, a couple of grams or more, and you might even not make it through. Some people are very sensitive to caffeine. The people that are very sensitive to caffeine are obviously going to see a really heightened effect from it. And some people are so sensitive that even having like half a cup of coffee is going to send them off the charts, and they're going to feel really uncomfortable, fast heartbeat, maybe palpitations, sweating, and it's just not going to be something that's pleasant for them. So I started to notice, you know, that I was drinking a lot of coffee at work. We've been really busy in the last sort of 6 months or so, got quite a lot of pressure on us to get things done, and that's a good thing. You know, I like being busy at work, but of course the classic thing at work, what you're going to do, where you keep, you know, every couple of hours you're making a coffee. I tend to like pretty strong coffee, so a couple of times a day I was having really strong filter coffees, and then the rest of the time just the, you know, standard sort of coffee from a tin sort of thing. But the bottom line was I was having a lot of cups of coffee a day. Sometimes I was having like a caffeinated workout drink before I went to the gym as well, and I was finding that that was causing me some sleep disturbance, so I stopped taking that. But I was still getting a little bit of sleep disturbance, and actually caffeine stays in our bodies for a long period of time. So even if I'm having like loads of cups of coffee from sort of 8 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, which was pretty common, that could certainly still be causing me some sleep issues later at 9-10 o'clock at night. So the first thing I did was start limiting my caffeine consumption and keeping everything before 12. That did help a lot in terms of, you know, getting my sleep pattern a little bit better, because all I wanted to do was to get to sleep quickly, get a, you know, a nice 7 or 8 hours. I was monitoring it on the watch, wanted to make sure I got a nice deep sleep, because obviously that's great for lean mass growth. And you know, you shouldn't underestimate the power of sleep. If you're trying to get fit and healthy and you're trying to put on a bit of lean muscle, then you really need to get sleep in. It's a night and day difference between people that don't get sleep and people that do. It's a huge game changer if you're trying to build muscle. And in terms of general fitness, you know, it's an absolute game changer as well. So that was how I first started, and you know, I found that quite difficult, to be honest. I found it actually quite difficult to even limit caffeine, and that kind of annoyed me. I started to get a bit frustrated with myself, because I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to be controlled by things and substances, and I do have quite an addictive personality that I'm very aware of. You know, if something's nice and I like it, I tend to want to overconsume it, and luckily I've got willpower that I can kind of realize that that's happening and I can limit it. And the best way for me to limit things like that is just to cut them out, because I don't think anyone's got good enough willpower to just have, you know, a tiny bit of something that's very addictive, or even something that's reasonably addictive. Most people don't have the willpower to just have one portion of a chocolate bar and put the rest in the fridge and leave it till the next day. You know, it's much easier for me to just eradicate the entire chocolate bar and not bringing it in the house in the first place. So I thought, you know what, I've been so reliant on coffee for so long. I want to get better sleep. I want to feel really energized in the morning. You know, that's something I've never had. You know, people talk about getting up and feeling really good as soon as they wake up. Now, I always feel really positive, like I'm looking forward to what I'm doing in the day. I've got a positive mindset. I'm really in a good place mentally, but I don't always feel energetic. You know, sometimes you can feel positive, but that doesn't mean I feel physically like I want to sort of get up and go. I'm still a bit tired, and that is frustrating. You know, I would like to get up and feel a little bit more refreshed in the morning. So I was interested to see if changing my caffeine habit would help. One of the issues that I was having with it as well was it was giving me a feeling of kind of background anxiety. I think I was consuming so much coffee during the day that it felt a bit like if you're late for a meeting or something like that, that kind of sort of slight anxiety you feel in the pit of your stomach of like, oh, I've got to hurry up, I've got to hurry up. I had that kind of background feeling all the time, and that suggests to me that I would be, you know, in a fight or flight kind of cortisol situation. And we do know that releasing cortisol is pretty horrible for the body over long periods of time. It's been linked to a lot of adverse factors with heart disease and various other lifelong health problems. So that's not a state that I want to permanently be in. You know, it's good to have some functional stress sometimes. There's nothing wrong with stress. It serves a good purpose, but it must be of the functional type, you know, that it's there for a reason. And then when you have no factors surrounding you that are causing you stress, you shouldn't feel stressed. And unfortunately, I was feeling this sort of mild stress all the time, which I'm pretty sure would be attributed to caffeine function. So I just stopped it all. Last Saturday night, I just quit coffee entirely. Well, Saturday morning actually, I just quit coffee entirely and got rid of my Pepsi Maxes that have caffeine in. Obviously I don't have chocolate anyway, but just any drinks or whatever that did have caffeine I got rid of, and I swapped it out for Rooibos tea, which is a red bush tea from South Africa. There's no caffeine in that, and if I fancy a hot drink, I'm just having that instead. It's got some antioxidant properties and stuff, and it just happens to be a hot drink that I actually quite enjoy. I would have had green tea, but that's got a small quantity of caffeine in, so I just didn't bother with any of that, and I've just gone for the red bush. So what happened? So the first 3 days, to be honest, were pretty horrible. For halfway through the first day, that was the Saturday, halfway through, I was missing coffee. You know, I was just thinking about, oh, I wouldn't mind the coffee, but no big deal. Just cracked on with it. And by the afternoon, I was thinking, this is fine. You know, people talk about all these issues they've had when they're giving up coffee, side effects or whatever. I don't seem to be having any. However, by Saturday evening, I had a raging headache. It felt like a high pressure in my head. It was all down this side, over my eye, really unpleasant. It just felt like an enormous pressure in there. So went to sleep quite early, struggled to sleep because I had this bad headache. I had it all night, I just kept waking up. I don't like taking medication if I can help it, so I didn't bother with any pain meds or anything. and I thought, well, it'll probably be gone by the morning. Wrong. Next day I wake up, raging headache still, and that stayed with me all of that Sunday as well. Same thing, big pressure in my head, felt really rough, and I had a look at other people that had given up caffeine, and sure enough they report the same situation, you know, that they're just having these really bad headaches, and that if you just have some caffeine the headache will go away. And I didn't like that, you know, I didn't like the fact that this drug that I've been taking, that I've become so reliant on, had such a big effect on me that was making me feel really ill. It kind of made me angry, and there was no way at that point that I was going to sort of dip back into caffeine just to get rid of this headache. I thought, you know what, I'm going to ride this out. I kind of got on a bit of a self-blame thing at that point, and I thought, you know what, you kind of deserve this headache. You should have given this up before. And I just looked at it like that. The Monday I went to work, still had a really bad headache the whole day, and by Monday evening I was starting to feel better. The headache was lifting, and I had no other issues going on. Yeah, I trained the whole weekend at the gym, trained on the Monday as well, did my cardio on the Monday, and that didn't seem to make anything better or worse. And then later on Monday night, went to sleep, woke up the next day, no headache at all, and that's been the same ever since. I haven't had any other symptoms from giving up caffeine. So I'm now on the Saturday, and it's been 7 days, and I haven't had any further adverse effects. What I have had is a reduction in that anxious feeling that I was having. So that kind of mild anxiety that I was talking about that I had in the background all the time, that's completely gone. So that's fantastic. You know, I don't feel like I'm in this sort of cortisol situation anymore. And I'm actually able to monitor stress levels on my smartwatch, on the Garmin Instinct 2. And it does seem like my stress levels have dropped a little bit in the last couple of days. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on those and see if that's, you know, if that's an elongated situation where they just stay lower. It might be a blip, so I can't say for sure yet, but I would like that to be, you know, a lower level from now on. I certainly feel like it's a lower level. So that to me is a big positive, and no other massive positives. I haven't sort of had this sort of feeling like I want to jump out of bed in the morning yet, massively energetic. I think that could take maybe another 3 or 4 weeks even, because this is a substance I've been giving to my body for 35 years, and I don't think I'm going to see every single benefit in, you know, in just 7 days. It's going to take the body and my sleep cycle and stuff to adjust, and that could be quite a long period of time. And I certainly don't feel worse for it, and I feel quite pleased with myself that I've able to kick the habit, and I'm interested to see what happens. But I certainly don't feel worse. The low level anxiety feeling has dissipated, which is I think a really big deal. And if that's all I get out of it, then I'll be more than happy, because that wasn't very pleasant, to be honest. And I will continue to do this and see what happens. You know, if in 4 weeks, 5 weeks time, that feeling comes back without caffeine, and it just happens to be a feeling that is nothing to do with caffeine at all, and I don't have any benefits from giving up coffee, then I'll probably go back on. You know, I'm not anti-coffee. I think it's perfectly fine if you can have it in moderation, but I'm just fascinated to see what the overall results will be long term. Right, let us know in the comments what you think, guys. I'm sure some of you will think that is crazy and it's not something most people want to do. I can mention giving up just about anything, and then as soon as I mention coffee, everyone's like, whoa, no way am I giving up coffee. You know, they'd give up family members, I think, before they gave up their coffee. So it seems to be a real tough one for people, which gives us an insight onto how addictive this stuff actually is, and how many of us are very, very reliant on it. So that kind of serves my purpose that when people get that animated about it, I think, yeah, I'm probably maybe doing the right thing here, just to see how reliant I am on it and what changes I can expect. Leave a comment. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. You know, that means the world to me. We're only a small channel, and the more subscribers we can get, the more ad revenue comes in, the more exciting stuff I can do on the channel. I'd really like to take us out and about and go and see some things, do some things, but you know, we need revenue to do that. So please subscribe. Everything helps. Take care. Have a great week, guys.